So how are you collaborating with some of the institutions, the educational institutions, to make sure that these types of, some of the learning science and the measures that have come out of that are actually implemented?
Right. It really is is a very close collaborative experience of, we're not ever pitching to them. We are usually going there with a view to listening and understanding what are their challenges. And that is done often in the form of, having these teams of 20 academics that we've invited to come in and visit one of our offices. Last year we did 150 of those. So that's a very core process of how we operate as a business. It results in me kind of going to meet university chancellors and presidents and understanding what is their issue that they're trying to take on, and often it is really about, how do you keep a university functioning and thriving in a challenging environment. We need to own all those problems, and then we need to bring in solutions that address those, whether it's in the form of more affordable solutions, integrating our solutions into their workflows, or just better materials that are better suited to what they need and what their students are asking for to be taught in class. An example of that is AI-based or analytics-based accounting. That's not something the schools would have asked for 6 years ago or 5 years ago or even 3 years ago, but that is something that they're all asking for now. We need to change what we provide from the content perspective as well.
So what would that look like when they're asking for things that also implement AI and other technologies into their learning?
Yeah.
What would that actually look like when the student is interacting with it?
It's a great question. It's a very fair question, and thankfully I have a very personal answer to that. Both my children have been beneficiaries of these AI-driven software, there's a McGraw-Hill software called Alex, which is Adaptive Learning Educational Knowledge Spaces. It's kind of it's a mouthful, but really the concept is to have an optimal experience in learning and being trained at getting better at pre-calculus math. And this is a field that has been tried and tested, and there have been many ways of trying to get to what is the optimal way of teaching it. We believe we have cracked a major part of that problem through the solution. So how it operates is, anytime I have 2 daughters, they go into Alex, and it really has less to do with the chapters they learned at school. It's about being exposed to some test problems just to see what is their current knowledge state. What do they know today? And it could be as simple as abstraction, division, something more complex with geometry. And it quickly then, based on these probes, would be able to put my more advanced child in a certain domain, like maybe in division in a certain quadrant of this kind of hyperdimensional space, and my other child who's more advanced in a different area, in a different point in space. And then the fun starts. They are started to be presented with questions and experiences that are optimized to 2 things. That the next question should not be so easy that they're underwhelmed and bored, and not so hard that they really feel it's not for them and they need to go do something else. And that's where pedagogy and learning science comes in, kind of that optimality of experience that gets them from one state to the next state and next state to the next, and with enough breaks where they have a sense of achievement, they get these little certificates, etc. So that just gives you an example of what does the modern day solution look like. Now, I'm just talking about my 2 daughters, but there is a whole generation of students who've taken advantage of this and doing well. There are fewer dropouts because of Alex, and we measure it. Just last year, there was a company called Bright Bites. It's an independent consultancy, and they did an analysis of over 400 apps or solutions and software in this space. I wouldn't even be telling you the story if we were not number 1. But the correlation to student outcomes to the software for us versus the next one ours was 92%, where one is 100% is the best. The number 2 on the list was 32%. So it just kind of tells you why and how you really need these next generation solutions that AI is able to give you. and the others aren't really able to get you anywhere close.
So you mentioned lower dropout rates as one of the success measures. Are there any other success measures that you've been able to measure
Right.
as a result of?
Look, I mean, being in business, one of the big challenges that we know we need to address is having metrics that allow us to know we're making progress. So it probably comes across as more extensive, but really the difficulty of this is how do you pick the metrics that are quickly able to indicate to you that you're making progress and not just feeling good about yourself that haven't really resulted in outcome. Being in the field of education, there are some very simple ones that you can affect, and dropout is one, and the other one is graduation rate. And what was the graduation percentage, and then what was the quality of their graduation percentage, so A's, B's, C's, and F's, right? So that is thankfully very established and can be measured. And so we've really chosen to just conform to those norms because those norms are not being challenged like in some other fields. And we've proven to ourselves that we do well in each and every one of them. What the data does allow us to do is understand why do some students that had the promise fail, and then where exactly in that pedagogical process did they give up, and how do you iterate that. We do understand why do some students actually drop out, and what we learned, many of them are dropping out even before before they even attend that first day of class because they found the registration process too difficult. And that's sad that someone didn't even sign up for class because, the line was too long. And it's true.
So you've really sort of worked to figure out the interactions between, the content that's out there that you're developing versus pedagogy and platform and how they all come
That's
together.
Right. That's right.
And these are some of the results.
That's exactly right. And they're all important, right? Which is the content you have needs to be the best you possibly can have. The pedagogy needs to be the best it can possibly be to have an effectiveness. And then the platforms you have gives you an ability to distribute and then gain the probes and access. And you can't really pick one versus the other. They're all equally important. I think the difference in the world we live now versus these tremendous educational processes we have had in the past is technology. And we have, through the power of technology, an ability to provide all of these, the best of the other two at scale. And that scale, as long as it has demand, allows you to be affordable and have an impact at a global scale like never before. And that's what makes being in the field we're in so exciting. And this is one of the best hopes I think modern society has, is technology-backed education.